Hey y'all, you want to know the one thing you need to stop leaking? Well, here it is. There isn't one thing. And I know that's a spoiler alert. I'm already starting to see the excitement fade away in your face. This has got to be one of the number one things that I'm asked. Like, just give me the thing. How many Kegels do I need to do? What are the exercises I need to stop leaking? And the truth is, there isn't one magic pill. There isn't one magic move. But don't check out yet, because there are 3 things that I highly recommend and I believe need to be a part of your wellness plan, no matter what exercises you're doing or what your specific cause of leakage is. And in today's video, I'm going to uncover those 3 things. So let's get into it. Number 1 is walking. And I know that's super boring, but walking is, I always like to say, one of the most underrated things that helps your overall body, but it also helps your pelvic floor. So let's just talk about why walking is good for you in general. Movement is key. When you're dealing with leakage or any other health problems, you want to move your body. And walking is something that's low impact. It's easy to do. You don't need any gym equipment. You don't even need to do anything but just go outside your house or even walk in your house. And some of the major benefits that walking provides, even outside of your pelvic floor, it's good for stress management. It helps you sleep better. It's good for your heart, your joints, your bones. It's good for your mental well-being. Walking even helps aid in creativity. So if walking is doing all of that for your body, you can only imagine what it does for your pelvic floor. And so for pelvic floor, specific diagnoses like constipation, walking helps with digestion. So it helps to get things moving. Our body, again, likes movement. And if you're someone who struggles with having a bowel movement every day, walking is one of the number one things that I recommend to not only help your pelvic floor muscles relax, but also to help stimulate digestion. Walking is also good for people who have pelvic pain, just like I just said. It's good for pelvic floor relaxation. It's good for blood flow and circulation. And these are all the things that you need if you struggle with pelvic pain, vaginal pain, rectal pain. Walking is also good for people who have leakage because it helps to activate your core, which your pelvic floor is part of your core, which I'm going to expand on a little later. But walking is just one of those things, whether you're leaking a little bit or leaking a lot, you don't want to avoid movement. Your pelvic floor is something that has to be activated. It has to be exercised, and walking is a way to move your body, but it also has a secondary benefit to your pelvic floor. And so let's talk about what that looks like for you daily. So the body likes consistency. The body likes movement. So none of my recommendations are ever things that we're going to do for a little bit and then go back to not doing it all. We're trying to figure out intentional ways to move our body, and walking is one of them. And we're not talking about the walking you do when you're chasing after your kids, even though I know I have 3 kids myself. That can be super exhausting. And we're not talking about the walking you do at work, even if you sit at a desk, but you got to get up and down. Even my teachers and nurses, like, our bodies get used to that level of activity. We're talking about walking in addition to that. Walking that helps to, again, increase blood flow, raise your heart rate a little bit. We're talking about intentional ways to move your body. And it doesn't have to take a long time. This could be 10 minutes at lunch. It could be 10 minutes after dinner. Just finding ways, again, to move your body. And I've never taken any specific stats on this, but the patients and clients that I have that are really impacted by leakage in their life, movement is something that they have really completely avoided. So walking, exercise, is just not something they do, and for good reason, because they're leaking. They're afraid of having a public accident. Movement is what creates the leakage. And so I know it makes sense to know, stop doing the thing that causes the leakage, but that actually just aggravates the problem or contributes to the problem. And so we want to, again, find ways to move our body. Walking is a super easy way to do that. And although leakage may be caused by movement in the beginning, movement is something that you want to continue to do because, again, it encourages activation of the pelvic floor. And that's what you need if you have weakness or you have a coordination issue or you just can't activate those muscles. Walking is a very easy way to kind of get that ball rolling. All right, number two. So, the number two thing that I recommend be a part of your wellness routine, specifically if you leak, is breath work. And so, this is kind of a hot topic right now. Like a lot of different practitioners or people in health recommend breath work. I think last football season, one of I can't remember the college name, but the football team of a huge school hired a breath work coach for the team. And I was so happy to hear that because that was a part of really helping their team begin to win and come together as a unit. And I just thought that that was so super cool to see that in real time in another sport where you would probably think like all they need to do is strength and conditioning and high impact things. But breath work was something that really got this team connected to their bodies. And so how we breathe matters for our pelvic floor. You can either create a lot of tension in your pelvic floor by how you breathe, or you can create a lot of relaxation in your pelvic floor with how you breathe. And your diaphragm is directly connected to your pelvic floor function. So if you can't engage or have a hard time utilizing your diaphragm, more than likely you're going to have a hard time coordinating your pelvic floor. So this is just a very basic kind of foundational step that I work through with my clients, but it's also something that you can always go back to. Just a quick little tidbit. I recently did hot yoga for the first time. And if anybody has ever done that, like I love hot weather, but hot yoga for the first time is stifling. That's probably the best word to use when you walk into that room. And so my body kind of went through like a little bit of fear and an adjustment period. And while I was laying there trying to get accommodated to the temperature, I went into my diaphragmatic breathing and my breath work because that really helped calm my nervous system. And your pelvic floor actually activates when you have fear or stress or anxiety. So if you're in a constant state of those type of emotions, you are more than likely going to carry tension in your pelvic floor. And breath work is just a tool in the tool bag, like I like to say, that helps you to relax that area and to calm your nervous system. And when you can do that, you have a lot more control of your pelvic floor, which ultimately helps you to control the leakage. And I'll add a little bit more. Another reason why how we breathe really matters to our pelvic floor, because I also believe this is the first way that we disconnect from our pelvic floor. When we hold our breath or we're very guarded and we just don't connect to how we breathe, that begins to make us disconnect from our pelvic floor. So when you start to learn these breathing patterns or you start to figure out what you like and what works for you, it just gives you a much deeper connection to your body, your pelvic floor, your core, and again, these are tools that you can utilize forever. It's not just a one-stop shop. So again, breath work, number two, super important to stopping leakage, but also just as important for our overall wellness. All right, my third and final piece that I believe needs to be a part of your wellness routine that also will help you to stop leakage is balance and core stability. And I know we hear the word core all the time, but your pelvic floor is part of your core and it's very much connected to your balance. So what is the core? A lot of times, and I guess pop culture, core is thought of or talked about like it's just your ab muscles. If you want a six pack, you need to work your core. You need to do 1,000 crunches a day. And that's not really it. The core is so much more than that. And I think it really gets underutilized. And so that's where a lot of our problems start, with core weakness. So if you are working your core, you are working your pelvic floor. So the core consists of not only the muscles that we think about when we think about like having a six pack, but also the deeper layer of abdominal muscles. Your back muscles are part of your core. Again, your pelvic floor is part of your core, which also includes some hip muscles. So again, if you are working any of those areas, you're working your pelvic floor. And so pelvic floor exercises don't always equal just Kegels, for tightening and squeezing, but also things that you do like planks, anything that you're doing to stand on one leg. Like you could be doing deadlifts, but do single leg deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, single leg squats, side lunges. All of those things also work your pelvic floor and they challenge your balance. So again, it's no coincidence that a lot of times people who have leakage also have some balance issues. But if we think about ways that we need to move our body in real time and that are functional. You need to be able to lift your groceries out of your car. That involves your core. You need to be able to sometimes stand on one leg to get your underwear on. That involves your core. Sometimes I even make recommendations to my clients, try to find ways where you can just stand on one leg. When you're brushing your teeth, can you stand on one leg? If you're washing or drying your dishes, can you alternate between sides and just challenge your body? Because some of our pelvic floor muscles are also hip rotators. So there are ways that we can isolate sides of our body that also help our pelvic floor. And if we never tease that out, I like to say the weaker side, stays weak, and the stronger side continues to compensate. So any way that you can work your balance, core stability, or do things standing on one leg throughout the day, or just with functional daily tasks, that is going to challenge your pelvic floor, and that's going to help you to stop leaking. And I'd like to add another layer into balance and function and things that we need to be able to do during the day. Sometimes when we experience leakage or pain, we can kind of convince ourselves that these are activities that we need to avoid. But in actuality, there are things that we just have to do each day. And so when I mention this, I think of a client that I once had who had a history of some back pain, and some exercises I had given her involved her rotating her trunk from side to side, even some back extensions. And so she was pretty fearful of doing any kind of movement to her back, because she had kind of convinced herself, like, as long as I don't tweak my back, I'll be okay. If I kind of just stiffen my body and avoid motion, then I won't be in pain. But I had to kind of talk her off the ledge in a sense and really start to ask her some questions so that she could see, like, you do this every day. I began to ask her, don't you reach behind your passenger seat to get your purse off the floor of your car every day? Don't you reach I'm going to switch the mic. Don't you reach across your body to put on your seatbelt? Like, you are rotating your trunk all throughout the day. And again, there's no surprised that when we start to limit these movements, that also coincides with people who have leakage when they're just avoiding mobility. And so a lot of the things that we do in one-on-one coaching are exercises that have carryover. And so you want to be able to challenge your core. You want to not avoid movements, because that is how we keep your pelvic floor active and alive. That is part of your body, and core stability doesn't have to mean 1,000 crunches. It's just a way to move your body to challenge an area that's weak, that will also support your pelvic floor and ultimately stop the leakage. All right, so those are my 3 ways, 3 components, the 3 things that you need to just be a part of your wellness routine in life. So again, we're not doing anything for a little bit. These are lifestyle changes that you're making to support your pelvic floor. So this is going to work for you no matter what the cause of your leakage is, what specific plan you need to be adhering to. These are the things that you need to make a part of your daily, weekly, 3 to 4 times a week practice. And it only supports, again, your overall wellness, but also your pelvic health. So as always, I truly enjoy spending time with you guys. If you think of any questions and you're watching my video, shoot me a message. Let me know what else you want to hear about. If any of this resonates with you and you want to dig deeper with me one-on-one, don't forget to click the link in my description so that we can connect one-on-one. And again, make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any future videos. Talk to you soon. Bye.